Hey, it's Rashid Shaheed, and I'll see y'all at the Fantasy Sports Summit, August 21st. Can't wait.
What's up, everybody? This is Kyron Williams with the Los Angeles Rams running back. I'm super excited to see you at the Fantasy Sports Summit.
Welcome to the show, guys. Happy Saturday. It is another draft weekend. I know a lot of you guys are getting into your draft, so I want to do a video on the all-fade team, the ultimate team that you want to not draft, okay? So the all-fade team, I did the first 8 rounds here for you guys, so pay attention and don't do what I'm about to tell you guys to do in this video. So do not draft these players. This is a little contradictory here. I went and drafted from the 9th pick, and I'm going to tell you how my team turned out after 8 rounds, okay? So I'm excited to dive into this, guys. The all-fade team, the worst fantasy football team, the do not draft team. Excited to dive in. Now, again, I'm in the outdoor elements here. We got some overcast today here on the weekend on this beautiful Saturday. We are contending with some winds. So if the audio quality is not the greatest today, it is due to the winds. But if there was an episode where the audio quality was at its worst and there was winds, it would be this one, because these picks do not want to be drafted. You do not want to draft these picks is what I'm trying to say, okay? So if you're new to the channel, guys, smash it, tap it, slap it. If you have not gotten 16 rounds, go grab the 16-round drafts, which as soon as you sign up, you're going to get an email with all of the right picks, the optimal picks, with the mock drafts, full cheat sheet, guys, that I update until the season starts. Everything you need on a silver platter, so you get that ironclad roster. Grab 16 rounds right now. Do not draft without it, guys. I'm telling you. And also, the summit is coming this Wednesday, guys. The time is ticking. You got to get your summit ticket right now. We got Trey Benson, Kyron Williams, Rashid Shaheed. We got Tajay Spears, Frank Gore Jr., Pat Frymouth. We're all going to be at the summit. It's going to be an online conference, all from the comfort of your home, 7:30 Eastern this Wednesday. Grab your ticket below. Okay, guys, this is very, very important. You don't want to miss out on this experience. It's amazing, okay? And you can combo with the 16-round draft session for the best price. I've linked it below, all right? So let's go into this, guys. Again, hit the thumbs up if you're new to the channel. Again, that wind is picking up like crazy, all right? So we're drafting from the 9th position here. What do we do? How do we draft from the 9th position? How do we make it as worse as possible? Now, that first round, it's hard to say any of these guys are going to bust, but everybody's got red flags. The guy that I've got here at the 9th pick, guys, my first overall pick in the 9th overall is Puka Nacua. I think there's a lot of red flags around him. First and foremost, Stafford is dealing with a hamstring issue already, missing some practice this past week. That's an issue. The guy could be on his over-the-hill type year. Puka is actually coming off a major pinnacle year, guys. This is a big problem, all right? Especially a guy that's young, rookie, whatever, coming off an astronomical record-breaking season. How do you top that? So he's being drafted at the most expensive level he could be, right? Very, very expensive. So when I look at a guy like Puka Nacua, I'm looking at a guy that's coming off a pinnacle year that's due for a major regression. Not to mention, guys, last year, Cooper Kupp, literally, guys, didn't play the whole season. Now, if he's healthy and he's been looking good in camp, Cooper Kupp is definitely going to dip into that volume. So you're drafting Puka at his all-time high. You're paying an absolute premium for Puka Nacua. If that's something you guys want to do, that is a major risk. So, again, we're trying to draft the worst team possible, a team that could bust, a team that could regress, a team where you're not maximizing an upside. You go ahead and draft Puka Nacua. That being said, I love the talent. I think he's great, but a first-round pick coming off a pinnacle year with Cooper Kupp healthy and a potentially declining Matt Stafford is a big risk for me in the first round, okay? I could be wrong. Maybe Kupp gets hurt again, and if he does, then bam, you got yourself a league winner again in Puka Nacua, okay? Round number 2, I was looking at the round 2 options, and I went with this guy here. The guy I'm talking about is Brandon Ayuk in round 2. Guys, listen, this guy's a diva. Looks like he's going to stay on the 49ers at the time of this recording. And, they've got Deebo Samuel there. They got George Kittle there. They got CMC, which I think CMC is going to go down. So if you're going to say, if CMC go down, doesn't that boost Ayuk? It does a little bit, but you got to really be banking on that in order to draft Ayuk round 2. So the crazy thing is, why are you drafting a guy who's a potential 2 or a guy that just doesn't get a lot of targets? He did, I think he had, 105 targets last year, something like that. These guys that are being drafted in rounds 2 to 5 are not getting a lot of targets. But anyways, we're focused on drafting the worst team. So I went with Ayuk here in round 2. I saw him there. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to draft the worst possible player. Guy's going to get diluted in that committee. Oh, and by the way, we're going 0 RB, which is also a mistake to do because if you go 0 RB, I'm going to wait till you see who the running back is in round 5. So stick with me, guys. I mean, don't stick with me here, but just follow what not to do here, okay? Very, very risky stuff. So Ayuk round 2, diluted situation. Then it went around the snake draft, came back to me. Remember, we went 9th, we came back around, we comboed, we're going 0 RB, which is not what you're not supposed to do. We went Puka, we went Ayuk, and in the 3rd round, we got ourselves a steal. Oh, so you think it is. Nico Collins fell to us. So we got 0 RB. Our 3 wide receivers are Puka, Brandon Ayuk, and Nico Collins. Now, everybody seems to think Nico Collins is a steal. If you guys remember, guys, everybody's buying the recency bias. He had a good year last year. But did he? Not really. His yardage was good, right? Touchdowns were okay. I think he had like 8 touchdowns, 1,200 plus yards. But if you look at his targets, 109 or whatever, that's not good, dude. That put him 25th in targets. And you're talking about a guy who's got Diggs there. They've got Dell there. It's a diluted situation. And he was coming off like he was wide receiver 55 last year. This is a guy who's telling you to stash on your bench along with Tank Dell because they were going off the radar. Now everybody's on them. So, anyways, I think it's a terrible pick. By the way, he's coming off typically round 2. The fact that we got him in round 3 is a steal. But, yeah. I mean, it's not a steal at all. Do not draft. If they gave me Nico Collins round 9, I wouldn't draft him. I think it's way diluted. The only way Nico Collins does well is if Tank Dell and Diggs go down. That's the only way. But then even still, he still only had 109 targets, which is 25th amongst wide receivers. Still not good. So how are you drafting Nico Collins? Anyway, why am I giving good advice? This is supposed to be the worst team. Let's keep going. Let's stick with the bad theme here. Because some people will say, oh, well, you drafted Nico Collins in your worst wide receiver video and he busted. So that's why I'm trying to cover myself to say, guys, this is just an example of the worst team, okay? I'm not recommending these guys, all right? So round 3, Nico Collins, don't do it, but for this purpose, we do. Coming around round 4, I'm taking a major risk at quarterback, and again, it's going against every fiber of my being, where I tell you guys, anchor a team with an ace quarterback that is secure. With the quarterback position, guys, you got a set of stats and consistency, guys like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. We know what we're kind of getting out of a quarterback. So why is Anthony Richardson ranked number 5? It's crazy. So I went Anthony Richardson. I took a major risk on quarterback, massive upside, but Anthony Richardson round 4. Then it came back around again. We went Puka, came back around, went Ayuk, swung back around, went back-to-back, Nico Collins, Anthony Richardson. Again, we're trying to go 0 RB for this worst-case scenario, picking the worst possible players, right? Or risky players with red flags, which Anthony Richardson has, and they're safer quarterbacks to get. So we went, again, Puka, Ayuk, then we went Nico, then we went Richardson. We're back on the clock. We're looking for the best available running back. And I see a lot of people doing this, which is crazy, but I went with David Montgomery round 5, which is absolutely nuts. Imagine David Montgomery, who's kind of the 1-2 on his team. And again, you could say he's the one because he comes out on the first drive and it's going to tick off a lot of the Gibbs owners. And Gibbs is dealing with a hamstring. But this guy always misses time. He's lackluster. He's not good. And he's got Gibbs there. But people are somehow making him the running back 1 on their team, which is ludicrous. So anyway, that was the worst pick I said. And there's worse picks, by the way. But I went David Montgomery here round 5, which was absolutely crazy. So David Montgomery round 5. Then I swung back around and I went with Christian Kirk, who people somehow in their crazy thought process think that he is the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. Absolutely ludicrous, sitting as wide receiver 26. Brian Thomas Jr. is the one. Again, I've talked about this over and over and over and over again. It's like, okay, like if Kirk was the one, he would have been the one over Ridley last year, but he wasn't. He sucks. He's the backup. He's the beta. And in the draft, our first round pick, and Brian Thomas Jr., who's absolutely tearing it up in camp, dude, okay, you guys go ahead and draft Kirk round 6. I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr., but in this purpose, educational purposes, on what not to do, I went Kirk round 6, which is ludicrous. Then it swung back around. Where are we now? Here I went Montgomery, and then I waited. I went Tony Pollard round 7 to kind of round out this early worst team here with this first 7 rounds. And then I went Evan Ingram, who I think could be safe, but he's not my top tight end to grab this year, okay? So Tony Pollard, who thinks he's going to be the one who was a failed backup, guys, I'm not doing it, man. I'm not doing it in reality. I'd rather have Tajay in around that ADP. And Tony Pollard is actually coming off round 6. He's coming off a little bit ahead of Tajay, so he fell to me, so I grabbed him. So let's recap what not to do here, guys. They went 0 RB, and I don't recommend going 0 RB because you need those running backs early. You need to go top heavy, right? Because after round 3, it's a big fall off at the running back position. there is some sleeper running backs, which I explained in 16 rounds, but it's a big fall off. So first 8 rounds. Puka Nacua, Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins. Do not do this, guys. Anthony Richardson, who could boom, but is risky. They're safer quarterbacks. David Montgomery, Christian Kirk, Tony Pollard, and Evan Ingram as the worst possible teams in those rounds. And I could have got worse. I could have made it a little uglier, but I was trying to balance out my team, right? I could have just went wide receivers and made Tony Pollard my RB1, but I wanted to make it somewhat realistic. So, guys, this is the all-fade team. You got to be careful in those early rounds, okay? You want to make sure you secure a good running back, okay? 1 or 2 good running backs in those first 4 rounds because it gets really scarce fast. You don't want David Montgomery as your RB1. You definitely don't want a guy who's going to be in a committee where the other running back is going to be the one potentially or have way more upside like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? You want to make sure that you're getting those workhorses early. You want because there's wide receivers for days later. And you definitely don't want to be getting wide receivers, guys, that are in 3-headed monster situations where they're going to get major target dilution or you're simply drafting based on last year. If you're just drafting based on ADP, it's like you're playing the lottery. It's like, okay, I'm just guessing game. Okay, this is pick 45. I'm just going to grab 46 because that's like the best, or 47 because that's like the best one in that order. You're not going to win your leagues like that, guys. You got to think outside the box. That's why last year I went and got Sam Laporta. I made him my 1, and I drafted him a round or 2 earlier, so I made sure I had the true tight end one that was in a great situation on top of his depth chart. Does this make sense to you guys, okay? When we're talking fantasy football draft strategy, when you're doing these mock drafts, balance your roster. Again, if you just Google fantasy football draft strategy, I did a whole article on it with a video on Google. I think I'm the first or second or third one down. You could Google it. Go to that video. There's a ton of advice there, but make sure you guys do grab the 16-round draft solution where I give you everything on a silver platter so you don't make these mistakes, guys. You don't want to be making these mistakes on your draft. Don't get the target diluted wide receiver early. Make sure you anchor your team with an ace quarterback. And there's a ton of other not a ton, but there's a couple other tight ends that I recommend in 16 rounds that have more upside than Evan Ingram. Ingram could have a good year, but I'm more of a Brian Thomas Jr. kind of guy over like a Kirk type thing. And guys, get 16 rounds. It has all the answers. And don't do what I just recommended to do in this video. Okay, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you have a good Saturday. There's a bunch of games on today. Hope you guys are enjoying the games. Football is back. Do not draft without 16 rounds. Hit the thumbs up on your way out. We'll talk soon, guys. Have yourself an outstanding weekend. The All Fade team. Don't do this. All right? We'll talk soon. I'm out.